Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in as always. So I'm still doing videos, they're just a little bit slower coming as I've been pretty busy as of late. And again, it's got to be something that kind of interests me or jives with me for me to spend the time, get behind the camera. So this is a production collaboration between custom knife maker Jonas Iglesias and custom knife dealer Slice FK or Slice Fine Knives. Slice has done a couple production collaboration with some well-known makers utilizing Jiknives of China to do the production, and that was the formula here. So this is the fuse. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this one in detail. I also want to talk about Jonas a little bit. Some of you guys may or may not be aware of him as a custom maker and his work, but he is certainly worth covering. So let's start talking about Jonas real quick. He's been on the scene since 2015, started kind of doing customizations on production knives back in 2015, went full bore, made his first folder at the end of 2015, and essentially by mid-2017 he kind of dropped out of dental school or pre-dental school there and decided to really have a go at it as a custom knife maker, so mid-2017. His flagship model is the Volt, which might be the version or the knife you guys have seen online. I got to handle a bunch of his customs at the USN show last year and maybe a couple other shows over the years. Fit and finish is excellent, nice guy, very professional, and his customs at auction have gone for pretty serious money. Don't know if it's appropriate to share or not, but at the USN show, I think both his auction knives went for 7, 8, 9,000, somewhere in that range. So again, very serious money for very serious collectors. And obviously they're appreciating his work. His open bid pieces at that show surpassed a lot of very well-known, well-established custom knife makers. So anyways, testament to his work. All right, so let's talk about the fuse here. The goal was to create, I don't want to say the perfect EDC, but a very capable EDC knife, so lightweight, thin grinds, moderate size, and that's really the formula here. So let's jump into the specs at this point. We've got the Spyderco Paramilitary 2, and then we have the Kershaw Dividend. So blade length of about 3.3 inches, overall about 7.5. So size-wise, pretty close to the Kershaw Dividend overall here. The one really interesting piece to this knife, I think, aside from just weighing in at 3 ounces for either version, is that blade stock. So blade stock for the fuse here is coming in at 120 thousandths or 0.12 inches thick, thinner than the Para 2, very thin blade stock overall, and then thickness behind the edge is coming in at 20 thousandths or 0.02 inches. So very thin blade, very kind of thin grind here. Again, there are custom knives or custom knife makers that will go even thinner behind the edge, but for a production knife, this is a thin blade and is very thinly ground. In fact, Riot gave a little pushback. They were concerned about using such thin blade stock and grinding so thin because they were worried that customers might end up breaking off the tips on this thing. And to be honest, when you're creating a production knife, that's a very valid concern. Hopefully, when you're spending $400 and these both retail for $395, you have a little bit more educated buyer who's going to treat this as a cutting tool and not a screwdriver or a hammer or a pry bar. But you never know. I guess we'll see. So let's move these two out of the way here. Let's get into some of the details on this one. So as far as Jonas goes, no knife shows this year. He and his wife welcomed their first child to the world, so he did the smart thing, decided to take the year off from shows and be there to help his wife with the new baby. So again, probably gonna make it through the year, and he'll be back to shows next year. So we've got a full titanium version here. We've got a green micarta. I know there was a black micarta and possibly one other color that's escaping me right now. Bead blasted finish on the titanium version, so again, it will pick up snail trails pretty quickly. This green micarta version, and in fact both, titanium hardware throughout, titanium thumb stud, body screws. This one has a micarta backspacer, The titanium version has a titanium backspacer. And again, they both weigh in at roughly 3 ounces, 3.1 give or take, but very thin overall. And then the balance is right at the finger choil here, so they're well balanced as also, which is, again, super important to me. In fact, balance is typically, to me, more important than the overall weight. I hate knives that feel like they're trying to slip out of your hand because they're too heavy in the back or too heavy in the front. So let's take a look at this blade here. Beautiful satin, really, really nice clean transitions between the swedge, the flats, and the primary bevel on both sides. Sterile blade, markings up here at the top. So Jonas Iglesias knives, M390. Jonas is very fond of recurves, really likes them for cutting performance, and he really likes thin ground blades, so hence the formula for this one. This is not based on a custom model that he currently does. He made a one-off fuse for this collaboration that ended up going to Riyadh and then came back to him, so there's only one custom fuse out there, and essentially he designed this knife for this collaboration rather than using one of his customs for the design work. This is the second production collaboration. The first one was the Spark with Wingman Knives, and I also did a video on that one, I don't know how many months back. So that's what the blade looks like. Handle, at least on this micarta version. Machining is fantastic. There's no, scraggly edges here on the micarta. Look at the machining on that backspacer, just really, really nice. 3D milled pocket clip here, hidden hardware. It works very well. And then it does have a titanium liner, no lock insert, but I have not seen any stick on this at all, so they may have carburized the lock interface or at least heated it, essentially. But engagement's good, lockup's good, there's no play whatsoever. And please excuse the fingerprints, but the lock is executed beautifully. Anecdotally, Jonas said that the few that he has or that he's kept for himself, the M390 is performing on par with his custom knives, so he's very confident in the heat treat, but no Rockwell numbers. But in terms of performance and sharpening, he said it feels just like the stuff, that he does. So feeling pretty good about the heat treat there. Anyways, action on this is fantastic. Detent is dialed. No resistance. Nice smooth deployment. No hot spots. Ergonomically, it's very comfortable in the hand. In my XL glove, we're right at the edge here. If your hand is any bigger than mine, you might be running out of room on this knife. So, yeah. And I'll leave links where you can find this. I think at this point only the titanium version is left. All the micartas have sold out. People are very fond of micarta these days. Great material, great handle material. So I think that was pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. Beautiful knife, great design, great fit and finish, material choice. I mean, in terms of being just a really good everyday carry cutting implement, I think it's fantastically executed. Someday, hopefully I'll pick up one of Jonas' custom. Would love a Volt, but again, I won't hold my breath. The demand is very, very high. Lots of people would love to get his work. He is very active on his Facebook page, so if you guys want to be more aware or potentially someday hopefully get a spot on a custom book or on his books for a custom knife, probably want to join his Facebook. Again, it's the same with a lot of custom makers, very active on Facebook. I don't do Facebook, but that's okay. So anyways, we'll go ahead and leave it there. This is the fuse. So thanks so much for watching, guys. More videos to come, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.